We're gonna start.
Yeah.
Okay, I will introduce myself. First of all, welcome Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. I'm Dr. NAILI, Vice President of the SANMO, the Algerian Society for Nutrition and Orthomolecular Medicine. And on behalf of its members, I would like to thank you for accepting this interview for SANMO Algeria through Skype.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here.
Okay. I suppose you are in Cambridge, don't you?
I used to be in Cambridge, but I'm outside Cambridge now. We moved.
Okay. Just to know if it's in London or somewhere else. Okay. So let me add that you are a very popular keynote speaker at many professional seminars and conferences around the world in the field of well-being and nutrition. So you are definitely recognized as a specialist in mental disorders for children and human immune disorders. So we're going to talk about a very interesting topic today. You choose it for us. It's gut flora and its effect on human health. Okay? So my first question is coming soon. We know more and more that gut flora is a highly organized microbiota, and there is a good flora and a bad flora. So how can make the balance, and what makes the imbalance, I would say?
Okay. Normally human beings are supposed to have it balanced. That's what Mother Nature designed for us, a balanced gut flora, where all kinds of microbes live each other side by side, and they will control each other. They don't allow each other to get out of control. Problem is, in the last 80 years, after the Second World War, antibiotics came onto the market. Antibiotics kill off bacteria in the digestive system. These bacteria were controlling fungi, viruses, protozoa, worms, flukes, archaea, all kinds of different other microbes. So when we take antibiotics, the bacteria are gone, all these other creatures get out of control and start growing large colonies and start causing trouble. It's the matter of balance. Once the balance is upset, then we get into trouble. And these overgrowing microbes damage the integrity of the gut wall, making it porous and leaky. Literally holes develop in the gut wall. As a result, the food doesn't digest properly before absorbing. It absorbs undigested or partially digested. And then the immune system finds this food in the bloodstream, looks at it and says, "You're not food, I don't recognize you as food," and attacks it. And this attack then manifests itself as food allergy or intolerance. Symptoms can develop anywhere in the body, and symptoms can be immediate or they can be delayed. So on any given day, a person has no idea what they're reacting to. They might be reacting to a piece of lamb they just had for lunch, plus 2 tomatoes they had yesterday, plus eggs they had a week ago, plus something else they had 2 weeks ago. All these reactions overlap on top of each other, and the person doesn't know what exactly they're reacting to. On top of that, these unbalanced microbes in the gut flora produce many toxic chemicals. These chemicals absorb through the gut lining, get into the bloodstream, and then immune complexes get in there as well, and the alive microbes get in there as well. In short, our digestive system, instead of being a source of nourishment for us, becomes a major source of toxicity in the body. A river of toxic things, undigested food, chemicals, poisonous chemicals, alive microbes and other things flow from the gut into the blood, and then the blood distributes it all over the body, and whichever organ, whichever tissue this toxic river gets to, it will cause disease. If it gets into the brain, it will upset the functions of the brain. And because in every human being, their gut flora is unique, and the mixture of toxins coming from the gut flora is unique too, the symptoms that the brain will come up with will be also unique. So in some cases, that group of symptoms might fit into a diagnostic box that we have, a diagnosis, maybe autism, maybe hyperactivity, maybe schizophrenia, maybe bipolar disorder or depression or eating disorder or something else, or it may not fit into that, because this is a unique human being with a unique mixture of toxins coming to the brain. From my point of view, every mental illness, including epilepsy, including all psychiatric illnesses and learning disabilities in children, are GAPS conditions. This is a condition, a name that I gave this condition. I called it Gut and Psychology Syndrome, which abbreviates to GAPS. And my first book is based on a description of what happens to the brain when this situation develops in the body. I focus on the learning disabilities and on the mental illnesses on the brain. But then if we look at all the other organs in the body, I call that part Gut and Physiology Syndrome, where we can talk about various forms of arthritis, autoimmune disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, allergies, psoriasis, eczema, chronic cystitis. Any organ, any tissue in the body will suffer if this river of toxicity gets to it. So gut and psychology syndrome and gut and physiology syndrome both abbreviate to the same GAPS in the English language.
Okay. Oh, it's a very interesting introduction for the first question, because you focus essentially on the relationship between the brain and the gut. So they are closely connected and communicate with each other. That's what I understand. The communication should be through the vagus nerve or other mechanisms. My question is, can you explain this connection and the role of maybe nutrients for a healthy brain, for example?
The more we're studying gut flora, the more we're realizing that most of our likes, dislikes, our mood, our behavior, and many other functions of the brain are predetermined by the composition of the gut flora. First of all, the brain uses chemicals called neurotransmitters. Serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, endorphins. There's about 200 various chemicals that the brain uses. The more we research these chemicals, the more we realize that actually they're manufactured in the digestive system and then transported to the brain to be used. So if the digestive system is not working very well because the gut flora is abnormal, then the person may not be manufacturing enough serotonin. Serotonin is our happy neurotransmitter. That's what makes us positive and happy, joyful. When the person doesn't produce enough serotonin in the gut, they become depressed. They become negative. If dopamine is not enough produced in the gut flora, again, about 70% of dopamine is produced in the digestive tract and then transported to the brain to be used. If we're not producing enough dopamine, then the person will have no motivation. Again, they will be depressed. That's another part of depression. Many other neurotransmitters don't work when the gut flora is abnormal and the digestive system is not working well. But another thing happens. These microbes like eating certain foods, overgrowing candida, overgrowing viruses, overgrowing pathogenic bacteria, archaea, and other things, and fungi in particular. They like eating processed carbohydrates. They like eating sugar, things made out of flour, junk food, processed things, processed carbohydrates. And these microbes are clever. They eat the food, they produce all their toxic chemicals as a result of eating this food, but part of that toxicity they make in the form of endorphins, molecules which absorb, get into the brain, and when they're in the brain, they give the brain pleasure signal. So the brain wants more. So the person becomes a drug addict, trapped in a vicious cycle of addiction to the chemicals that are produced by the gut flora. The person is not taking the drug from outside. The drug is manufactured in their own digestive system by those overgrowing pathogenic microbial species. And this situation develops from a very young age, particularly in children with learning disabilities, in children with autism, hyperactive children, dyslexic, dyspraxic, oppositional defiant children, and other children which can't learn properly and can't behave properly. What happens? They have abnormal gut flora, these children. And this gut flora wants these particular foods. It loves them. It loves bread, it loves pasta, it loves cakes, biscuits, chocolates, sweet yogurts, desserts, junk food. So what it does, it produces these endorphins which make the brain addicted to them, and then the brain wants more pasta and more sugar and more cakes and biscuits and more breakfast cereals. And the child excludes all the foods that don't fit into this vicious cycle of addiction, because the child becomes a drug addict. They would not eat any proper meals. They only want to eat the foods that fit into this cycle of addiction. So your 2-year-old little darling is a drug addict. And this child would refuse this food and refuse that and not eat anything proper. They just want these sweet things, starchy, sugary, stodgy things. They are fussy eaters. This is the basis for development of real drug addiction in the adults. All drug addicts who are addicted to morphine, heroin, cannabis, and other illicit drugs, they begin from addiction to sugar, from addiction to processed carbohydrates in the early childhood. So they are drug addicts from the beginning, from a very, very young age. And there are many, many adults in the world who are in the same situation. That's how the brain responds to this sort of things. On top of that, our gut flora produces a lot of hormones. Every microbe has got its own hormonal balance, to the point that now the science that is researching this, call it metabolome, they pronounce gut flora to be the biggest endocrine organ in the human body. There's a river of hormones coming out of our digestive system into the bloodstream. And these hormones talk to our hormones. They communicate with our thyroid hormone and adrenal hormones and hormones that are produced by pancreas and sex glands and other glands in the body. And they upset the balance. They upset the hormonal balance in the human body. In fact, they dictate it. They dictate this balance. Yeah. Hormones are very powerful molecules. There is no cell or organ or tissue in the body that doesn't respond to hormones in a very complicated way. So when the gut flora is abnormal, your hormonal balance is completely abnormal. And that will create a myriad of symptoms, which may fit into some diagnostic box or may not fit into any diagnostic box, because again, every human being is unique, their gut flora is unique, and their hormonal balance will be unique. So that's what gut flora does. Apart from the toxic river that goes into the blood and then reaches the brain and clogs the brain with toxicity. That's how mental illnesses develop, and that's how many, many other physical illnesses develop.
Okay. I had a question about the gaps, but you are developing this nutritional protocol, which is in fact very innovative, because people with certain mental disorders have an altered microbiome, precisely in autism, so as you said, and bipolar disorder, dyslexia, etc. Could you please clarify what's on the nutritional protocol? The main points, is there a diet, special diet for people suffering from bipolar disorders or mental disorders in all?
Yes, absolutely. I have developed the GAPS nutritional protocol. The purpose of this protocol is to drive out pathogens from the digestive system, normalize and rebalance the gut flora, bring it to normality as much as we can, and most importantly, heal and seal the gut wall. That's the main purpose. Our digestive system is a long tube. What you fill that tube with has a direct effect on its well-being. So food is medicine. So GAPS diet is the most important part of the GAPS nutritional protocol. It's the only diet that exists in the world, as far as I know, that can achieve this, that can normalize the microbiome and can heal and seal the gut wall. What happens in the gut wall? Our gut wall is lined by very special epithelial cells called enterocytes. These cells only live a few days. They have a very short life. They're born at the bottom of the crypts because the gut lining has finger-like protrusions called villi to increase the surface of absorption. And they're born at the bottom of these villi, and then they travel up the villi, getting more mature on the way, fulfilling the functions of digestion and absorption of food. And then when they get to the top of the villi, they become old, worn out, and they get shed off. So they only live 2-3 days, maximum 5, these cells. So the gut lining renews itself all the time. It gives birth to trillions of new enterocytes every day. In order to give birth to all these cells, the gut lining needs building materials. These cells need to be made from something. GAPS diet provides huge amounts of these building materials. So the gut lining can give birth to trillions of healthy, robust, strong cells to replace the sick ones. So in effect, what we're doing, we're building a new gut wall for the person. Because human body doesn't waste resources on healing a sick cell. If a cell is sick, it just kills it and removes it, and gives birth to a new baby cell to replace it. But if the damaging environment is still there, if the bad microbes are still there in the digestive tract, as soon as these baby cells are born, they get damaged again. They become sick. So what we're doing in parallel, we're changing the gut flora in parallel with the GAPS diet. So the GAPS diet is changing the gut flora and at the same time allowing the gut wall to rebuild itself from newly born baby cells, healthy cells. It takes time. These two processes go in parallel with each other. It takes time to do this. On average, the GAPS diet needs to be followed for 2 years. On average, for some people with very severe conditions, it's much longer, or maybe even all their life they have to follow the diet. But for people with milder conditions, they can do it for shorter periods of time and recover quite quickly. So that's what we do with the GAPS nutritional protocol. I would like to stop on autism for a moment and other learning disabilities.
Yeah.
What happens to these little children? From my point of view, and from the point of view of many holistic doctors around the world who work with autistic children, vast majority of autistic children in the world were born with perfectly normal brain. These were perfectly normal children. But what happened to these babies? They acquired abnormal gut flora from the parents, from day one, from the mother and the father, and that abnormal flora then damaged the integrity of their gut wall, made it leaky, porous. A river of toxins started flowing from the gut, getting into the brain of the child, and this toxicity accumulates in the brain. It clogs the brain. How do babies learn? If you watch a baby, they listen to everything, they look at everybody, they touch everything, they take everything in their mouth. What are they doing? They're using their sensory organs, their hearing, their vision, their tactile sensitivity, their smell, their taste, to collect information from the environment. And then these organs pass this information to the brain to be processed, and from this information the baby learns that this is mommy, this is daddy, I can trust them. This is a toy, I play with it like this. This is a food, I eat it. These are other children, I copy them. But if the child's brain is clogged with toxicity, which comes out of the digestive system, it can't process that information. All this information coming from the ears, the eyes, the tactile sensitivity, and so on, turns into a noise, into a mush in the baby's brain. And from that noise, the baby cannot learn anything useful. The younger the child is, when we start the GAPS nutritional protocol, the quicker they recover and the more fully they recover. Because the longer the child is trapped in that toxic fog, when they can't process this information, the more physical damage is inflicted on the brain by all the toxins bombarding the brain, and the more the child falls behind in their development behind other children who are developing normally. Because babies learn certain skills at certain ages. They have to learn to walk when they're about 1. They have to learn to talk when they're about 2. And if they miss this window of opportunity of learning a particular skill, it's very difficult for them to learn it later on, because they were trapped in that toxic fog. So if we catch a 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old, and put them on the GAPS nutritional protocol, in a few weeks, the gut lining will seal itself. All the holes in the gut lining will close up, and that river of toxicity stops. And once it stops coming to the brain. The brain cleans up. Human brain has a wonderful ability to clean itself. It cleans itself up, and the baby comes out of this toxic fog, wakes up. And from that moment on, the baby starts learning normally. So if the child was a bit older and they've missed a lot of development, so other 3-year-olds are not standing still, they're developing quite fast, perhaps we need to teach that child to catch up all those skills that the child didn't learn when they were trapped in this toxic form. But if the child is very young, particularly when the child is 16 months old, or 2 years old, or maybe up to 2.5 years, quite often we don't even need to teach them. They come out from this situation themselves and they catch up themselves. The older the children are, the more they've missed out on their development, the more they fall behind other children of their age, and the more physical damage is inflicted on the brain. So they may not recover fully, these children, but every child recovers to a degree, and it's quite unpredictable to what degree the child will recover. So children who are 5, 6, 8, 12, 15 years old will improve. They all improve on the GAPS nutritional protocol, but they may not recover fully from autism. Children up to the age of 4, in my experience, have a really good chance to recover fully from autism, to shake it off completely and develop normally, develop normal, healthy life.
That's very important. That's impressive what you said. You got a lot of experience, and I thank you for this precision. But beside that, I mean, scientists predicts whatever beside the mental disorders, other disorders which happen in the people, especially, for example, the excess weight. The excess weight, we are sometimes focusing on the composition of the gut microbiome. Is there a relationship between that, and how is it possible? I mean, is there a relationship between obesity, for example, and dysbiosis?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of research to show that certain microbes grow in the digestive tract of people who are obese or overweight, who make them obese. And people who are slim don't have these microbes. They don't have such an overgrowth of these particular microbes. So, as parents pass their gut flora to the child at the moment of birth, obese and overweight parents will have these microbes in their digestive tract, and they will give those microbes to their baby at the moment of birth. So quite often in families where the parents are overweight, children are overweight as well. So that is a big mechanism. But of course, a major mechanism is what these people eat, without doubt. Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer are all based on metabolic syndrome. It's a syndrome when the person eats too many processed carbohydrates, too many things made out of flour and sugar, basically, and vegetable oils. And because of the gut flora composition in these people, and some genetic differences as well, they simply cannot handle these foods. GAPS nutritional protocol, GAPS diet removes these foods, because in a GAPS diet we remove all grains, we remove sugar, we remove starch, we remove processed carbohydrates. So in the GAPS diet, the person will lose weight, they will build a normal physical structure, that their body will reshape itself, but most importantly, their gut flora will get changed. It will normalize, and those species of microbes that make the person obese will disappear, or brought to a small number which is controlled by other microbes, because the whole microbial balance in the digestive tract will rebalance itself, will change. Food has a very profound effect on our gut flora composition. Microbes respond to the change in the food literally in hours. In a few hours, your gut flora will be changed after you've changed your diet. So diet is extremely powerful. There is nothing more powerful than food in treating disease, any kind of chronic disease.
So your food could be our real medicine as well. Our food.
Absolutely. Food is medicine. Always was and always will be.
Yes. And by the way, is there a relationship between microbiome disorders and leaky gut syndrome, for example, allergies, autoimmune disease? Is there a relation between? Because we are talking about the brain, and now we talk about the direct relation between the two big organs, and
yes.
How to determine the disorder for the leaky gut syndrome, for example?
About 85% of our immune system is located in the gut wall. So our digestive system is the biggest and the most important immune organ in the body. Immune system has been likened to an army in the body, and if we look at it like that, then all the commanding echelons in this army, the generals, the admirals, the officers, the commanders, they are all in the gut. Because 90% of us is sitting in the digestive tract. 90%, that's our gut flora. And the relationship between the gut flora and the immune system is very, very tight. They work like partners. The gut flora is a major source of data, information for our immune system to act upon. At the same time, the immune system is a very hungry organ. It needs feeding. So whatever food we absorb, the immune system gets the best bits. It picks the first, the first and the top, the cream from that food, because it's a hungry organ. It changes all the time. And it's very, very sensitive to toxicity. It responds to toxins very quickly. So when a person has abnormal gut flora, their immune system gets wrong information. It's misinformed. It's malnourished because the food is not digesting properly, it's not absorbing properly, and it's intoxicated because there's a river of toxicity coming out of the digestive system. And the first thing that happens to our immune system in the majority of these patients, the two major arms of immunity, which are called Th1 and Th2, get out of balance. This arm, Th1, is responsible for normal reactions to the environment. It responds to dust mites, to chemicals, to animals, to pollen, to anything in the environment. That is why this immune system is particularly heavily present in every mucous membrane, in our digestive system, in our nose, in our throat, in the tears, in the saliva, on the skin, in the sweat, everywhere where we come in contact with the environment. The thing is that this arm is kept healthy and up to its job by the gut flora. When the gut flora becomes abnormal, this Th1 arm of the immune system becomes disabled. It can't work. So as a result, other arms of the immune system, Th2, and there are some other branches as well, they try to compensate for their disabled brother, and they try to react to pollen, and they try to react to the chemicals, to the foods, to dust mites, to the cats and dogs and horses and animals in the environment and other things in the environment, chemicals, but it uses the wrong tools. And as a result, the person starts developing symptoms. They develop hay fever, they start reacting to pollen in the environment, they develop asthma, they develop eczema, they develop hives, various skin rashes, itchy skin, sneezing, and all kinds of atopic problems. So these problems are due to this imbalance between these two major arms of the immune system, Th1 and Th2. In order to deal with all of these allergies, it is gut flora we need to focus on. I have seen this in thousands of patients, where we normalize the gut flora, when we fix it with the GAPS nutritional protocol. This Th1 suddenly gets off the floor and starts working again. And come spring, the person doesn't have hay fever anymore. By June or July, the person suddenly realizes, oh, I didn't have hay fever this spring. I wasn't sneezing and my eyes were not running. Or eczema disappears, asthma disappears. Asthma actually is very easy to treat with the GAPS nutritional protocol. It just disappears naturally. And many, many other reactions and problems disappear. If this situation continues for a long time, if a person doesn't know about GAPS and they continue with this situation, then foods which don't digest properly, other chemicals in the environment absorb into the bloodstream, and if this situation goes on, then the immune system starts developing antibodies against these things. And the person starts developing autoimmune disease. We have best part of 200 autoimmune diseases identified so far, and the list is growing. The more we research in chronic degenerative conditions, physical or mental, the more we're realizing that all of them have an autoimmune component. And I have no doubt that every autoimmune disease is born in the gut. They are all digestive disorders in their origin. That's where the root of the problem is sitting. The gut flora is abnormal in the person. All autoimmunity is the GAPS condition. It comes out of the gut. Whether it's rheumatoid arthritis, or multiple sclerosis, or lupus, or osteoarthritis, or psoriasis, or nephropathy, or anything else, anything else. And some of these people, when you start asking questions, they say, well, my tummy is okay.
Yeah.
No diarrhea, no constipation, no pain, no gas, nothing happening there. But when we put them on the GAPS nutritional protocol, they recover from rheumatoid arthritis, or they recover from the lupus, or they recover from another autoimmune disease. And when we test their gut flora, we find that it's very abnormal. And when we test how leaky their gut wall is, how damaged it is, we find that it's very damaged and very leaky. But the person may not have digestive symptoms, because we all have different constitution. And if your digestive system is a strong point in your constitution, it may compensate for all this damage and not give you any symptoms. So every autoimmune disease is born in the gut. And people with abnormal gut flora very often develop strange allergic reactions, which now are diagnosed as eosinophilic esophagitis, eosinophilic gastritis, or eosinophilic colitis, or MCAT. That's a mast cell disorder. These are new diagnostic labels, or FPIES, food-induced protein enterocolitis syndrome in babies. There are new diagnostic labels coming in all the time, or histamine intolerance, for example. All of these conditions were born in the gut, because 85% of your immune system is sitting in the gut wall, and that's where you have to start the treatment. That's the first thing you need to heal: your digestive system, normalize your gut flora, balance your gut flora, heal and seal your gut wall, and then your immune system will say, it will rebalance itself, it will get fed properly, it's not malnourished anymore, it had a good meal, it's not intoxicated anymore, it will start rebalancing itself, and the allergies start disappearing, and autoimmunity gets put on the shelf. So the activity of it reduces dramatically, it goes away. And chronic inflammation and all these reactions disappear in people. I even had patients, I had many, many children, in whom even anaphylactic type allergies disappeared. Because for a long time, we believed that anaphylactic allergy is incurable. That's what we believed. We thought that once you have an anaphylactic type allergy to peanuts, for example, that's it. For the rest of your life, you can't have peanuts. But the first child that, by accident, he was 5 years on the GAPS diet, this boy, and by accident he ate some peanuts. Somebody gave him a biscuit with peanuts in it, and we only learned about it next day. There was no reaction, because the child came home from school and said to his parents, well, Johnny gave me this biscuit and it was delicious and I ate it. Yeah. Am I all right? So mommy called Johnny's mommy and asked her what kind of biscuit was it. And then Johnny's mommy said, well, it had peanuts in it. And there was no reaction. No. That's how we discovered that the anaphylactic reaction disappeared to peanuts. So then we started giving this little boy peanuts, starting from a tiny, tiny, tiny amount. And we found that he's not reacting anymore. So the immune system can rebalance itself to the degree when even anaphylactic type allergies might disappear.
Thanks God for that. So another question, the transplantation of the gut flora, it's more and more used in hospitals, especially in France and Germany. What do you think about?
You mean the fecal transplant?
Yeah.
Okay. It's still a project in development, fecal transplant, and the biggest problem is to find healthy donors. Yes. To find people in our world who actually have healthy gut flora and actually have healthy stools. It's quite difficult to find. So some practitioners try to test the stool of the donor and then alter it with application of antibiotics or something else, and that doesn't quite work. And some don't, some just use it as it is, fresh. They just filter it, they mix it with water, filter it, and put it inside. And I had some families who did it themselves at home, because there's no magic to it at all. I had a Greek family who had a grandfather who lived on some Greek islands, and he was a very, very healthy old man. And they took his stool and put it into the autistic child in the digestive tract of their child. And the result was good. But what I find that it doesn't last very often. That initially there may be an improvement, but then it doesn't last. Because you do have to change the gut flora, the diet. The diet is the most important and the most powerful intervention. You can't just do the fecal transplant and think that's it, I fixed the problem. You have to change your diet.
And it's also a cheapest way, just only eat good food, good nutrition.
We have to eat anyway, do we?
Yeah.
We have to eat anyway. You have to feed your family anyway for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and in between. So you might as well feed them properly, feed them correctly.
Okay. Okay, it was very, very interesting and exciting to hear from you. But before concluding this short interview, I would like to have your opinion on the future of integrative medicines and particularly orthomolecular medicine, knowing that conventional medicine is starting to show its limits in the understanding and the treatment of many diseases, What should they do? I mean, the allopathic medical practitioners for.
There is a place for all forms of healing in this world. And the mainstream medicine has its place, without doubt. If you got run over by a bus, God forbid, you wouldn't want an ambulance to take you to a homeopath, would you? You will need mainstream medicine and fast. Because our mainstream medicine has very many good ways of saving our lives when it comes to it. They're very good for dealing with emergencies, with life and death situations, with drastic situations. But when it comes to chronic, degenerative conditions, the mainstream doctor is probably the last person you want to go to. Because first of all, they don't understand what caused the condition and they're not even interested. And the only thing they're trained in is how to suppress symptoms in the body. Symptoms are the way your body is talking to you, letting you know that you're damaging it, that you're doing something wrong to it. That's how the body calls for help. It gives you pain. It gives you inflammation. It gives you limitation of movement in your joint, for example, or a headache or something else. But what the mainstream medicine does, it gives you a drug to stop the pain, or a drug to stop the headache, or a drug to stop the inflammation. So all these drugs are doing, they're telling the body, be quiet and suffer in silence. Don't call for help. So I can continue destroying my body without knowing that I'm destroying it. So in the alternative medicine, in the holistic medicine, in orthomolecular medicine, we listen to the body. We listen to the symptoms rather than suppressing them. We try to find the root cause of what's going on in the body and deal with that root cause. And what I've discovered in my practice, in my clinical experience, that the root cause is always found in the gut. Hippocrates, those thousands of years ago, the father of modern medicine, made a statement that all diseases begin in the gut. And the more we're learning with our modern scientific tools, the more we realize just how correct he was. Indeed, every disease, chronic, degenerative disease, whether it's mental or physical, begins in the digestive system. And that's where the treatment has to begin, without doubt. And more doctors now are realizing this. It's a rule, historically looking at medicine, it's a rule that it takes on average 25, 50 years for any new idea to get into medicine. Because the older generation of doctors need to retire, take their ideas with them, and new doctors who that come up and grow up and become older and more experienced, bring the new ideas with them. And that's how the new ideas get established in medicine. So for the mainstream medicine, it always takes time to accept new ideas, to get new information and to start using the new information. And our patients can't wait for that, unfortunately. That is why we have now a whole plethora of holistic doctors and orthomolecular doctors and nutritionists and osteopaths and homeopaths and naturopaths and other health practitioners around the world who have the modern information and who know how to help you. So if you get a chronic disease, you want to go to one of these people, not to the mainstream doctor.
So we think we are in the right way to choose orthomolecular medicine or holistic, as you said, or any what they said, complementary medicine or integrative medicine. Yes, we are complementary medicine because we follow the right way, and I think we will reach the goal. it's important to, it's a very good moment to have you in front of me, and I wish to welcome you someday in Algiers, because people know a lot about you, about your, what you do, what you are writing, what your books exactly. So I just want to say thank you again for giving us this opportunity and some of your precious time to answer to our questions. So on behalf of all the participants in the meeting room, I sent you my most sincere greetings, hoping to welcome you again in Algiers someday. Okay?
Thank you very much. I would love to come one day.
Thank you, Dr. Natasha.
In Algiers, people speak French, don't they?
They speak French. We do.
Well, my books, all of my books have been translated into the French language. They're available on Amazon France.
Yes.
And they're available, they're in Switzerland. They're available from Switzerland. So you can buy them all. And I can email you the link where to order them.
Okay, I will be very happy for that. And I am sure that after this video, the books will be... you have to add some books in the library, because people wants to get them anyway. So thank you, Natasha. Thank you for this interview. It was
a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, wish you a very nice time, and just a last word for the SANMO, the Algerian Society of Molecular Medicine, and the practitioners who is in. They are watching you right now.
Thank you very much for your work, and I don't believe in hopeless situations. But there is a will, there is a way, and I believe that human body is a pinnacle of creation on this planet. It has every program of every ability to heal itself from inside, programmed into it. All we have to do is work with the body. Listen to its intelligence, listen to the symptoms, listen to what's going on, because the body always tells us whether we're going the right way or not the right way in helping it. And human body is a creation of nature, of Mother Nature. It's part of nature. So only natural modalities work, really, in dealing with the health, if we want to achieve health, not just control the symptoms.
Okay. Thank you so much, and I wish you a very nice time. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
I appreciate indeed, really.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
All the best.
Thanks.